Imagine waking up tomorrow and finding out you're not allowed to celebrate your own birthday anymore. No candles, no happy birthday, no cake with your name on it, not even a quiet little, wow, I made it another year. Sounds silly at first, until you realize birthdays are one of the only holidays where the star of the show is you. No victory, no harvest, no religious requirement, no national event, just you exist, and we're going to mark it. So why do humans do this? And why does it feel so normal now, when for most of history, it absolutely wasn't? Let's follow the breadcrumb trail, because birthdays have a past that's a lot stranger than party hats and balloons. At the beginning, birthdays weren't cute. They were powerful. In many early cultures, the day you were born was believed to be dangerous. Not magical in a happy way. Dangerous in a the universe is paying attention to you today way. People thought your birthday could attract spirits, bad luck, jealous forces, or anything that liked to mess with humans at their weakest moments. That's part of why so many early birthday traditions revolve around protection. Noise, for example. A lot of cultures use loud sounds to scare away whatever might be lurking. That's one reason celebrations often include shouting, singing, banging, music, and anything that makes the air shake a little. It wasn't just for fun, it was basically spiritual pest control. And the circle of people around you mattered too. You didn't want to be alone. You wanted friends, family, and allies close by. Because birthdays weren't just your day. They were a day when you might need backup. The first famous birthday parties we can point to weren't for regular people at all. They were for kings, rulers, and people who wanted everyone to know they were special. In ancient Egypt, there's evidence that what we'd call birthday celebrations were often tied to the crowning of a pharaoh, or the moment a ruler was considered more than human. It wasn't always the day they were physically born. It was the day they were reborn into power. So from the start, birthdays were connected to status, to identity, to meaning. Then the Greeks took the idea and gave it a twist. They had a tradition of honoring gods and goddesses with offerings, including round cakes, sometimes sweetened with honey, sometimes decorated to look like the moon. Artemis, the goddess connected to the moon, was one of the big ones. People would present these cakes at her temples. Those little flames weren't just decoration, they represented prayers rising upward. Which means the modern birthday candle tradition has a very old cousin, one that was less make a wish and more please don't let the universe smite me. The Romans pushed birthdays further into everyday life, but still with a catch. They popularized personal birthday celebrations for certain groups, especially men with social standing, and birthdays could be public, political, and strategic. Imagine being invited to a birthday not because someone likes you, but because alliances are being formed. It wasn't come for cake, it was come for loyalty. And for a long time, ordinary people didn't really celebrate birthdays the way we do now. Partly because many didn't even know their exact birth date. In a world without universal calendars, hospital birth certificates, and official records, your birth might be remembered as around the time the river flooded, or during the week of that big storm. Hard to plan a party with that. Early Christians often disliked birthday celebrations. To them, birthdays were linked to pagan customs and self-focus, and some early Christian writers viewed birthdays as something prideful, a celebration of the self rather than humility. But then something happened that slowly changed the vibe. The celebration of a birth became spiritually meaningful again, especially when tied to saints' days, name days, and eventually Christmas as a celebration of a birth story that mattered deeply to millions of people. And now we get to the moment where birthdays start looking more like birthdays. In Germany, there was a tradition that gets mentioned a lot in the history of birthday customs: Kinderfesta, children's birthday celebrations. Kids would have cakes, sometimes candles, and the idea of giving a child a special day gained traction. That's important because children's birthdays helped soften birthdays into something warm and innocent. When adults celebrate themselves, some cultures still get uneasy about it. But when children celebrate, it feels like you're marking growth. So birthdays become less about power and protection and more about time. Which brings us to the real reason birthdays took over the modern world. The rise of calendars, record-keeping, and modern government bureaucracy quietly made birthdays important. When states started tracking births officially, Your birth date became part of your legal identity. It determined age, schooling, work eligibility, marriage rules, military service, voting rights. Basically, your birthday stopped being a vague memory and became a line in a system. And once it's official, it's easy to ritualize. Then the industrial world adds something else: consumer culture, greeting cards, party supplies, cake mixes, candles sold in packs of 24 like you're going to live forever. Happy Birthday becomes a song almost everyone knows, not because it's ancient, but because it's simple, catchy, and endlessly reusable. At some point, birthdays become the perfect product-friendly celebration, predictable, personal, and recurring. But even if you strip away every commercial thing, no gifts, no decorations, no posts, the birthday still sticks. Because birthdays do something psychologically powerful. They create a checkpoint in time. Humans don't experience life as one smooth river. We experience it as chapters. We need mental markers. Before that happened, and after that happened. Birthdays give us permission to pause and ask questions we might avoid the rest of the year. Am I happy? Am I where I thought I'd be? Who do I still talk to? Who disappeared? What changed? That's why birthdays can feel oddly emotional, even when nothing dramatic is happening. The date itself becomes a mirror. And birthdays also solve a strange human problem. How do you celebrate existence without needing an excuse? A birthday is the ultimate excuse. It's socially acceptable to say, "Today I want to feel appreciated." Even if you're normally the type of person who keeps your head down. It's also socially acceptable for other people to show love in a structured way. We're not always great at spontaneous appreciation. Birthdays create a moment where affection is expected, and that expectation makes it easier. Now let's talk about the weirdest part of birthdays: the wish. Blowing out candles and making a wish feels harmless, but it's basically a tiny ritual of hope. It's a moment where you act like the universe might be listening, even if you don't believe in anything mystical. You don't announce the wish because that ruins it. You blow out the flame because that seals it. It's almost like a private deal between you and whatever you think the future is. And even if you think wishes are nonsense, you still do it. Because in that moment, you're not really asking for magic. You're asking for a better next chapter. And then there's the song. Happy Birthday is actually kind of funny when you think about it. It's not a deep lyric. It doesn't tell a story. It's basically a musical label maker. We are all acknowledging you right now. You are the focus for these few seconds. It's a social spotlight. And we all agree to stand in it, awkwardly, like a deer in headlights, while someone fights with a lighter and a cake that's starting to sweat. That awkwardness is part of the charm, because birthdays are one of the rare moments where you're allowed to be seen, even if you're shy, even if you're tired, even if you don't like attention. There's something human about the group saying, "Nope, today you matter," out loud. And that's why birthdays survive. Not because cake is delicious, although it helps. Not because gifts are exciting, although that's fun too. Birthdays survive because they're a yearly reminder that time is real, relationships are real, and you're still here. And in a world that moves fast, that reminder hits harder than we like to admit. So the next time you see candles flickering on a cake, remember, you're watching a tradition that evolved from ancient protection rituals, status ceremonies, religious debates, government record-keeping, and modern psychology, all compressed into one moment where someone silently wishes for something they're not ready to say out loud. And if that isn't a curious case, I don't know what is. Now I'm curious, do you actually enjoy your birthday, or do you secretly dread it a little? And what's the best birthday tradition in your family? The cake, the message, the gathering, or something totally unique? If you like these strange little deep dives into everyday life, drop your answer in the comments and consider subscribing for more Watercooler Facts.